every time you interact with the internet, you click on a link, you use an application, you use a messaging app, you are leaving a trail. So the question is not whether information is being collected about you. I think it's more about who is collecting this data and what are they doing with it. So is data privacy really important, and why should you care? Welcome back to the Cyber Cafe. My name is Femias and I'm your host here at the Cyber Cafe. Here we speak technology in the everyday language for the everyday man, breaking down concepts of technology and cybersecurity to make it more closer to everyone. If you are new here, go ahead and subscribe and like this content so that someone else can benefit. So every time you use an app, you create an account, right? You sign up, you put in your information, you put in your email address, sometimes you even have to put in credit card details, depending on what the app is really for. So have you ever wondered what is being done with this information? Have you agreed to all of it? Yeah. Whether we like it or not, in this new era of technology, data is one of the most valuable commodities. Yeah, in some conversations, we can actually compare it to oil. Yeah, imagine in this time we're in, but data is that important and valuable. Someone is always up to collect your information. Even some apps that are not giving you any service or you're not paying for anything, they want to collect your data. I think you have seen most of these ads that are giving you scan the QR code, or we are having this program for women over 40 working out and something like that. Or are you trying to look for something? Are you looking for, would you like to know your archetype or whatever? Most of those apps, they require you to actually enter personal information. And for what? Most times you don't even get any service from them. You just keep going in loops. Now with AI, it's even worse because they have chatbots that make you feel that you are interacting with someone behind the application. So when you are engaging in these conversations or doing searches on the internet, putting on any location you visit, every product you're browsing is telling a story about you, you know, it's telling a story to someone. And now that is going to guide the patterns. These platforms are going to use this information in their favor, of course. Yes, you will get a service that you've been looking for, but at what cost? Right? So today we're talking about data privacy and why should you care about it. Let's look at all these apps we use every day: social media, messaging apps, shopping sites, and all these news sites. They collect data about us. Well, some of the data collected is valuable because they need it to actually give you a service. But now some of it is not really necessary, and most of it can actually surprise you genuinely. And let's get into it. So there's so many interconnected things on the internet. The phones are, or the apps are somehow perusing through everything you are doing, and they are creating a pattern, right? So this is guiding many decisions you make even on your phone without your knowledge. You will find yourself making a random purchase that you had no business buying, and sometimes these things sit in your house and you never even use them. You have found, like, the application has found a way of figuring out all your browsing activity, figuring out your fears, figuring out your desires, and that can actually manipulate your decisions. Imagine that. So it is guiding the prices that are being shown to you, the products that are being shown to you, the political news and agenda that you are receiving, even when it comes to like feminism content or misogynistic content, the manosphere, it is all connected. So it comes down back to your interactivity on the internet. That is how deep it can go, because the apps have enough data to actually curate your experience. Now, is that a bad thing? Not really. But can it be bad? yes, it can get bad. So data breaches happen regularly. We've spoken about data breaches on this channel before. So when a company or when an application is in a data breach, that means that information has been leaked, very important information. So that's how it finds its way back to you. Your password is compromised, your information is compromised, and now you are somehow probably receiving phishing attacks on your personal email or on your work email. Your company could be compromised because you use probably your personal email in some app, and now you also used your personal email in a work environment, and everything is interconnected. See how you're now moving from just an experience on an application and putting the whole organization in jeopardy because of the data that you're putting into the application. Yeah. And then number three, once data is collected, you rarely actually have control over how long it's going to be kept, what it's going to be used for, and for what length, right? So you have less control. And some of these things are in the terms and conditions, but of course we rarely read those. Even the privacy, the data privacy agreements that are shared with us, rarely do we read those, right? So you have so many agreements in those policies that are going to put your data at risk. So the platforms that actually seem free are not usually free. Take it that your attention and your data or your information are the price you pay for using some free applications. So you'll be surprised at how many things are collected about you. Yeah. For example, your phone can track your location. Even when you have your, geolocation off, it can track your location through like Wi-Fi and the beacons, Bluetooth beacons. So you really have very little control over some of these things. You may have an app that you opened like months ago in your phone and it is still collecting data about you. So how how crazy is that? And you're not even using it, but all of a sudden you're receiving ads from a company you've never visited, or you visited a hotel and you wrote your information in there, and all of a sudden you're receiving ads from neighboring companies in that hotel. So because they have that sharing option and you have already opted in, so that's how data privacy goes on and on and on. So in all this, we have very little control because we still need these applications, and no one is going to spend time reading a data privacy. Okay, you should if you could, but if you were to do that, you'd spend probably over 200 hours of your life trying to read data privacy agreement. But what you can do is restrict the permissions of the applications. Go to your settings, find the permissions, button, and ask yourself, does the flashlight really need access to your contact? Does your Bible app need access to your location? So different apps need different permissions. Now that's where you should start. Like, at least that's in your power, right? So you can, in your browsers, you can choose the browsers that have some data privacy already installed, like Chrome, of course, Safari, Firefox. But if you can't, like, you can also use ad blockers to try and control, when you visit a site and all of a sudden you are receiving ads that are related to different things. So you can use ad blockers in your browser to kind of mitigate how much information is going out to other applications. You can also opt out. Some applications offer that option, opting out of some things. Of course, some do not. It's kind of hidden, but wherever it's provided and you don't think it's necessary to give that much access, you can opt out of certain things as long as you're getting the service the application was created for. A major point is to opt out from the data sharing option among applications. Wherever it's provided, just opt out. So I think that in all, privacy is not about you trying to hide something, really. It's not like we have things to hide from the internet, but it's about having some control over your story, over your journey, over your digital footprint. At least you're able to know whenever you are contacted, you know you have interacted with these particular applications before and you can trust them. But again, I think it's important whenever you realize you no longer need a service, you no longer need an app. You see how you declutter different spaces in your world? I think technology always needs a declutter. Technology, your phone, your applications, your laptop, you need to declutter. Delete apps you're no longer using. If you see you've not used something for over 6 months, that's your cue to delete it. Yeah, revisit permissions regularly, review the applications, and try and control. Even when you, for example, have an opportunity to ask in person, you can ask, how long will you keep my data for? Sometimes when you go to the bank, you have the options of saying, no, I don't want to be marketed to. In that moment, you can feel like, what if there is an important product that I will miss out on? So those are things you have to consider. But the whole point is equip yourself with this information. At least know your rights to your data because the data is yours. If an organization is keeping your information for longer than they should, for example, after 10 years, organizations are required to destroy this data. Do you know that? And if they still have the data, you are free to actually go and ask them, why are you still using my data? Why am I still receiving this? Or why are you sharing my information? I didn't agree to that. Stuff like that. Well, if you have the time, or in cases where you are in a data breach and you didn't probably receive communication from the organization, all those are your rights. So equip yourself. I think one time we shall have someone to speak about data privacy. But for now, if you have any questions or any comments at all about data privacy and data ownership and digital footprints, please put them in the comment section and let's have a conversation. What do you think about our data being shared online and all the consent that we need to give? Yeah. And until next time, I'm your host Femias here at Cyber Cafe. Please subscribe and share and let's have a techie conversation. Till next time, bye.